Welcome back to Animal Crossing New Horizons. I'm Day Darling, as you see what's going on our lovely island of Fawnhallow today. We're relaxing as per usual. I'm recording now because there is no D&D today. People understandably were a little bit tired after having a rather eventful weekend, and going straight into D&D probably was not very feasible. Which is, to be fair, something we discussed beforehand, and then we were like, okay, let's see how it is on today. So instead, it benefits in a certain way because it means I actually have time to actually record these videos, which is nice. So I've recorded 2 Lorelei and Laser Eyes episodes. But good evening, everyone. Right now in Fawnhallow, it's 9:04 PM on Monday, November 10th, 2025. Speaking of the fact that I've recorded Lorelei and Laser Eyes, that's a new series, of course. I should probably talk about Patrick's Power Box. I kind of forgot, but I haven't actually spoken about it yet. I'll give you a quick rundown of what other stuff is going on, I suppose, and like the daily couple-minute updates. But my gacha games are going good. Miss me. Maybe I'll speak about Patrick's Power Box tomorrow. And I need to get my thoughts in order about it first, I think, before I speak about it. So yeah, I think that makes more sense. I'll speak about it tomorrow. On the whole, I did very much enjoy Patrick's Power Box, and my favourite world ended up, I think on the whole, my favourite world ended up being, I'm trying to think what my favourite, I think it was Clone. I think Clone ended up being my favourite world or concept, but my actual favourite is, spoilers I suppose for the ending of Patrick's Power Box, is when you get to the appendix. My favourite was Appendix A. I guess I can say that without actually spoiling anything, because it just changes entirely. Like, you spend the entire time of game learning how to play it, and then it basically flips it and it goes, whoa. It makes you go, whoa. I had to like unlearn everything I have, and it made me realise how much intuitive knowledge I had about the mechanics, which I couldn't properly express. It was such a cool concept. Anyway, I'll talk about that more tomorrow, or a different day, I'm not sure. But yeah, I recorded some Lorelei and the Laser Eyes. We're making it's so stupid. Probably if you've played the game, you'll know what part I'm talking about, but I found like a book of just like brain teasers, and I've literally just spent one of the entire episodes just doing the brain teasers because I wanted to. But yeah, I'm also, I don't know why I'm running around when I should just be sitting down in the middle of a town square, because I'm also at the same time trying to set the metadata for these videos. Because I've got stuff to do today. I also need to have a shower after this, and then I think I also need to record an episode of 9 Souls, and it's just like, ugh, so much going on. But yes, and thankfully, not fewer stuff going on. I mean, this is not me saying thankfully we don't have D&D. Sadly, we don't have D&D, but more so about like, seeing as it's been shifted later in the week, I guess I've got more time. So, you look at the silver linings. Really. I recorded this a little bit late because after I finished recording Lorelei and Laser Eyes, I was like, oh, you know what I randomly thought of was the fact that basically before I went on this like little trip with my friends, another friend basically gave me a really nice little like small little gift, like a crochet placemat, essentially a crochet coaster. And obviously, like, I didn't know what was happening, so I brought it with me to my trip to my other friends, and I was like, okay, I'll put it like somewhere safekeeping, and then I'll use it when I get back. And it was only today, because I unpacked yesterday, I completely forgot about it, and it was only today, I think after Lorelei and Laser Eyes, I don't even know how I remembered. I was like, what happened to that? I didn't see it at all when I was unpacking, which is worrying, because I tend to be quite thorough with my packing and unpacking. I tend to do it basically immediately. So I basically spent like quite some time, just like turning over everything, trying to find like where could it have possibly gone. And the answer is, I don't know. Like, it's not in my bag, it's not in any of my clothes. I mean, like, most of my clothes don't have pockets, mind you. It doesn't seem like it's dropped out anywhere, at least in my close vicinity. So I'm just like, genuinely, where has it gone? Like, obviously, with this, I kind of accept it must have fallen out of my bag or something at some point. Which is sad, because I remember when I got it, I put it in my coat pocket. This is just me like talking through it like at a moment. Like you might be like, oh, you should ask your friends, seen Facey in it. I reached out to basically every friend who could conceivably have it at the moment, like a friend's house, the cars I travelled into, to see if like it fell out there. If it's fallen out somewhere else, then you know, then it's well and truly lost, and that is rather disappointing because I quite like that replacement. A spontaneous gift. As I say often, I adore handmade gifts, or gifts with like specific thought, or you know, a showcase of skill or effort, I suppose. You know, to me a handcrafted gift is either, you know, someone who hasn't done handicraft before, like trying putting time in to learn something new, or it's, you know, from someone who is very good already and they themselves have invested years and decided to use those years of experience on what is provided to me, and I love that. So yeah, I was like, oh yeah, this would be absolutely lovely to put down. I wasn't even exactly sure what I was going to use it for, mind you, but who cares? But so now I had that moment where I was like, oh, I don't know where it is, I'm really sad. Well, okay, not extremely sad, you know, I was just like, oh, that sucks, that's really disappointing. And trying to find it again, basically be like, where did it go? But I don't know. But you know, my friend the most likely place I think it'll would be in my friend's car. And he will check tomorrow because it's too dark right now. So we'll have to see. I've even already preemptively apologized to a friend who made it, and she was absolutely lovely about it. So, yes, and she promises to make me another one if it doesn't turn up. I'm like, oh, that's so sweet, that's so lovely. Obviously, I didn't really expect it to be like, you're a horrible person, I can't believe you've lost it. You know, we're all very mature people. We understand how things work. We understand accidents happen. That's a thing, which is always very interesting. It's about this distinction between attributing sadness or negative emotions to an event rather than a person, right? Which is something which I certainly feel like I was guilty of it when I was like a teenager as well, or when I was younger as well, to be like, oh, something bad, like an accident happened, where even like logically in my brain, you know, a friend did something which felt bad to me, accidentally in one way or another, and then when you're younger, you know, you haven't really thought through these emotions, you let the emotions guide the way too quickly. You go, this friend did this to hurt me, or something. Is even if you don't logically think that, if you don't, you might instinctively feel that as like a sort of pushback response, which is obviously wrong. Because if they're your friend, then they wouldn't do that to intentionally hurt you, and if they did, they're not your friend. I'm sorry to say. So it's more like, you know, I'm only talking about it because it came up like recently in something else, which I won't say in Animal Crossing. But it was basically like attributing, like acknowledging, yes, there are sad and disappointing emotions tied to it, but acknowledging it as tied to the event itself rather than the person that the event is based around, essentially. Because it's a weird sort of distinction, because obviously logically in my mind, I'm like, my friend would obviously be like, oh yeah, of course I'll make you another one, you know, sure it sucks that you lost it, but I hope it turns up, and you know, I'm more sad that it's lost rather than the fact that, you know, it's not going to attribute blame to me, being like, dear darling, I can't believe you lost it. So it's a very me thing to do. It's like, oh, you know, this is about something which happened within like today, and now instead of actually, you know, being like, oh man, that kind of sucks, you know, this disappointing thing which happened, I'm like, let's logically break down the social conventions which are happening here. What philosophically, why does it happen this way? But no, it was what I was going to say about it was like, yeah, it's disappointing, but you know, the logical thing that makes sense is that you attribute the sadness, I suppose, to the actual event. The thing that's disappointing is the fact that this gift was lost, you know, rather than attributing the sadness to, dear darling, lost the gift, because, you know, obviously I didn't mean to lose a gift. Did I lose it? Yes, it was in my possession and now I don't have it. And I don't mean to deny that, but at the same time, obviously it wasn't an intentional thing. So it just kind of makes me think, because now I'm thinking back on it, like if you wanted to like if you were like making like a teen drama or something, you know, this would be like a falling out point, being like, how could you lose my gift? And then they'd learn at the end of it being like, oh, obviously it was an accident, you know, accidents happen, and then they like reconcile. You can think, dear Princess Celestia, you know, Pinkie Pie lost my gift. No, actually, it probably wouldn't be that way around. Oh no, I could see it. If a storyline would have happened, rarity, element of generosity for some reason instead of inspiration, as it should have been. Giving a gift to Pinkie Pie Rainbow Dash, that's a better one. Misplacing it despite the fact it meant something to her, and then Rainbow Dash trying to make up for it and also feeling bad about losing the gift. Or Rarity coming to terms with the fact that Rainbow Dash did not intentionally mean to lose it. And then probably in like typical one, I don't listen to My Little Pony episode. What is wrong with me? My Little Pony fashion, it probably turns up in the end or something. I don't know. I'm just thinking now from like a children's TV show writing point. It's like, this would make a fantastic like episode plot point for like a child to learn like a moral lesson from, you know? Sorry, not the point. But yeah, I think if anything, you know, part of it stings a little bit because I like to think of myself as a rather organised, you know, I'm very much someone who keeps good track of my things and stuff. Like I very, very rarely lose things. So for me to lose something like this makes me go, oh, you know, not only is it a sad thing to lose because it was something that I wanted, it's sad also because it's something which a friend put effort in for, and now it's not the effort's been wasted, so to speak, because I think that's probably that's a very transactional way to look at anything really, relationships, which probably shouldn't have that transactional nature to them. But my friend put effort into it, and now, you know, I don't hold the sort of the fruits of that labour. And then the final step is like, also it's like, oh, it's almost like a small blow to my character as a person of like, oh, you know, I think of myself as someone who is good at keeping track of this sort of thing. I can always find my stuff. I know where my things are. Like I very rarely lose things, and being like, oh, I did lose something. It's just sort of like a stack upon stack upon a stack. Now again, in the grand scheme of things, is this absolutely earth-shattering consequences? No, of course not. But it still kind of sucks. And then we come full circle, and now we attribute that suckiness to the event itself rather than the person. And then here we go. Moral lessons with Dear Darling. Because otherwise it's very easy to be like, oh, I lost it, I'm a horrible person. But, you know, I feel like I'm a mature enough person to realise, no, I'm not a horrible person. I made a mistake. And that sucks. It was an unfortunate action. But not done out of malice. Which is, you know, how most, fortunately I would say, I have a very good group of friends. That's basically how most unfortunate actions happen. Is that they're done not out of malice. I'm trying to even think, like, is there like a malicious action I can think that a friend has done? I think probably the most malicious action a friend would do, to me at least, would be to like test my patience even further or something. But in general, I'm pretty patient, you know. Weirdly enough, I think I'm more patient now than I used to be, which is weird because I also thought I was pretty patient before. But I think that, you know, now maybe I have a more concrete idea of like where lines and boundaries are drawn for myself, that I'm more willing to be like, okay, yeah, no. If anything, it's expanded the palette of patience I have, which is weird. There's something to that. There's something psychologically to that, which I can't put my finger on, and I don't know what it is. And I want to break that down further, but we're on a different topic now. I wonder when the last time I like genuinely like lost something is. This actually did come to mind because it's almost the same situation, but well, not really the same situation. In fact, a much lower stake situation. But I had these really nice like snowflake earrings, which I wore to a Christmas party. No, I wore it to an outing with my friends. No, I did wear it to a Christmas party, and then I wore it to an outing. Excuse me, with my friends. And then I realised that my friend dropped me back at my house, and then, you know, like I realised, like as I was like I was, how do you say it, like cleaning up and everything, that like the earring wasn't in my ear anymore, and I was like, oh, where'd it go? Don't know. Asked my friend. That minute I was like, maybe it dropped in your car. That one I'm pretty sure I dropped somewhere outside the car. I don't know, because I even thought about it. There was like a Chekhov's gun sort of thing, where it was like, oh, you know, earlier that day, it almost completely fell out my ear, and I was like, whoa, that would have been bad. I would have lost it. But instead I just lost it at a different time. But yeah. Is there a moral lesson that I've got following on from that? Not in the slightest. It just sort of came to mind as the last time I lost something, or last time I remember losing something. I've definitely lost a lot of things in my life. I try not to be honest. I like to think we all try not to lose things in our lives, but stuff happens, you know. And I'm also talking with a physical sense, not with a mental, like, or sociological or psychological sense of losing something, which certainly does happen. Not that I can think of an example off the top of my head. But yeah, the main point being, yeah, I don't know where it is, and to be honest, still might not be entirely lost. Might just turn up somewhere at a friend's place or my friend's car. But yeah. If anything, it's kind of a nice thing to think about, which I never really sat down and sort of thought about to now, but it's nice that we're at a point of our lives, I think, of emotional maturity as people and stability within a friend circle and friend group. You know, I'm always very thankful that my friend group, you know, doesn't have like big drama or anything going on, because that's just exhausting. Who's got time for that? But I'm glad that we're at, you know, the stage of emotional maturity to be like, oh yeah, of course we're judging people basis off their intentions, because we have a certain level of trust rather than needing to judge based on the literal actions. Again, I feel like I've managed to avoid drama a lot throughout my life, to be honest, so maybe that's not like some grand achievement, and I don't mean to really make it sound like it's a grand achievement. But I've never really sort of consciously sat down and been like, yeah, it is a nice thing to have emotionally mature friends. Again, this might be very over top for me talking about it, but you have to remember I am basically trying to fill up 20 minutes of conversation with this, and this is just sort of running dialogue of a thought that would be going on that I'd probably be having in the shower instead otherwise. Anyway, the long and short of it is, I hope that item turns up at some point. Where is it? Where could it be? I've got no idea. Well, I've got some idea, of course. But if it doesn't turn up, then that's life. That is such a punishment of accidents. I was going to say the punishment of negligence, but then I was like, no, let's rephrase that. That's too harsh. It's not negligent. Like, I did my due diligence. Like, it was I put it in my coat pocket. And then, you know, when we got to the location, I think it was when I got to the location, I actually can't remember exactly when. It might have been before, actually. I was like, I shouldn't keep this in my coat pocket. It might fall out. I think I do remember what happened, is when I arrived, I was like emptying stuff out from my coat pocket and being like, okay, yeah, I don't need to keep my scarf and my gloves in my coat this entire time. Oh, I forgot I had this in here. I'll put this somewhere safe. So I put it in another one of my bags I had. But not there anymore. Who knows? Could be anywhere. So yeah. Would it turn up? Who knows? Would I hope it would turn up? Yes. Is it the end of the world if it doesn't? No, of course not. It just is as it should be, just something which happened to me today. So, no more, no less. So, on that note, I'm going to round this episode off here, and I'm probably going to go have a shower. So, if you have been watching, thank you very much. It's been Animal Crossing New Horizons. I've been dear darling. Likes, comments, subscription, shares, greatly appreciated. Socials, Discord down below. Hope to see each other again, but for now, it's our farewells. Until next time. Bye-bye for now.